Hello and welcome to Unacademy IAS. The UPSC Civil Services Mains Examination 2026 is set to start from 21st August 2026. And your favorite paper, GS paper 3, will be conducted on 23rd, which falls on Sunday. So if you're somebody whose basically argument is you will not work on Sunday, come whatsoever, be careful. You will not only have to attempt the questions of just one GS paper, you will have to write two GS papers, that is GS paper 3 and GS paper 4 on Sunday this time. But coming to the serious issue now, out of all the general studies paper for which you will write the answers, one paper you will find it very difficult to write all the answers, but more importantly, score very good number of marks is the general studies paper 3. One of the reasons why you will not be able to get good number of marks or why you have not been able to get good number of marks so far is because the answers that you have written, though have good points, lack any kind of data. For example, have a look at these particular sample questions. The first question is on why the government of India should focus on achieving inclusive growth rather than focusing only on making India the third largest economy in the world. You will write the answer, but there is absolutely no data, especially the data that is incorporated from current affairs. Here is the second question. You will read this question once, twice, maybe thrice, and after reading maybe three times, four times, you will realize it is a question on the government of India's initiatives at the school level, at the college level, even in the labor market to promote skilling, upskilling, reskilling, etc. The third question, 9 years of GST implementation. Discuss the issues and the reforms required. You will write everything about GST without incorporating even a single piece of current affairs data in the answer. According to you, these are the best answers that you can write. But because there is no data provided in any of these particular answers, you will not be able to score good number of marks. But let's be honest here. Can you remember all the pieces of data? Are all the pieces of data that you have come across relevant, important for the UPSC examination? Of course, the answer is no for both of these questions. Then the question arises, what should be the minimum data that you should be able to remember? I've done a compilation taking the data from economic survey, the budget documents, as well as from the latest press information bureau documents which are published. All you need to do is go through the data, take a printout of these particular handwritten notes, the link for which I'll provide you, download it, take a printout and revise it. Hardly two-page information, revise it three times, four times, so that important data you will be able to recollect and use it more importantly in writing very effective answer in the GS paper 3. Let's begin. I've given a compilation here. Please don't panic. You'll be able to download these particular the PDF version of these particular documents. The link is provided in the description below. Now, starting with the national income data, GDP. In case of GDP, what is the relevant information? Of course, again, I'm saying you should not be remembering every piece of information regarding GDP that has come in the newspaper in the last 1 year. Not required, but at least the broader level data that you can use to write an answer. For example, according to the IMF estimates, India's economy is not the fourth largest now, it is the sixth largest. IMF, sixth largest. And the contribution of all the sectors put together in the form of GDP, gross domestic product, according to the base year revision that has been done, it is $4.15 trillion. $4.15 trillion. Contribution from the primary sector is around 18 to 19%, secondary is around 25%, and tertiary is around 55%. Of course, the contributions from 1 year to another year will be different. There will be slight volatility, but these are the general observations or general trends. Regarding inflation, the average inflation rate for the last 4 years, there has been an experiencing downward path. That is basically if you take the financial year 23, the average rate of inflation was 6.7%. For the financial year 26, it is 1.7%. Now, where can you use this particular data? If there is a question on balancing growth as well as inflation, and if there is a question on the 10 years of monetary policy framework agreement, that is inflation targeting, you can use this particular data. Now, in the fiscal policy, the debt to GDP target that has been set up by the government of India is 50% by financial year 31. The central government debt for the financial year 26 as a percentage of GDP is around 58.2%. And the 15th Finance Commission has given a recommendation of net borrowing ceiling limit to be decided for the states, which is 3% of gross state domestic product. 16th FC has given a recommendation of vertical devolution of 41%, but please memorize this particular number. The total grants which have been recommended by the 16th FC to be given to the states is 9.4 lakh crore rupees. Now, after this, under the taxation system, the income tax, what can be the question in the coming years or in this particular, right, let's say mains examination? The question can be to compare between Income Tax Act of 1961 with Income Tax Act of 2025. I hope all of you have seen at least 3 to 4 points in order to elaborate and get the good number of marks. So IT Act of 1961 to 2025, important data points. Earlier 819 sections were there, now 526 sections. The chapters have been reduced from 47 to 23. Under the GST has completed 9 years, important for mains examination. So now there are 3 important rates. The most important slabs are only 2. 5% for the merit goods and a standard which comprises most of the goods and services, 18%. And the demerit rate for the sin goods applicable is 40%. And why 40%? The maximum rate that is applicable under the GST law is basically 40%. Now, the tax buoyancy with the implementation of GST has been more than 1. Before GST, it was below 1, and after the implementation of GST, the tax buoyancy under the GST has been more than 1. The gross GST collections for the financial year 25 and 26 have hit a record high of 22.27 lakh crore rupees. The GST taxpayers also have increased from 66 lakh in 2017 to more than 1.65 crore in May 2026. May 2026, mind you, the most recent data on GST, by the way. Now, coming to agriculture. In case of agriculture, very often there will be discussions regarding fertilizer. The national recommended level for application of NPK, that is the nitrogenous base, phosphorus as well as potassium fertilizers, is 4:2:1. But what is the actual ratio of all the 3 fertilizers right now? It is 10.9, 4.1 and 1. This is according to the latest budget as well as economic survey document. Now, very often when you are writing on agriculture, you require data such as how much is the total land under cultivation, right? So the gross cropped area in case of India is 220 million hectares, and the total area under the cultivation in agriculture is 140 million hectares. Next, as of August 2025, ethanol blending, right? Question can be there on ethanol blending this year. So as of August 2025, ethanol blending has saved 1.4 lakh crore rupees in terms of foreign outflow. That is forex outflow that could have happened if there was no blending under ethanol. And it has substituted consumption of 245 lakh metric tons of crude oil. 5.43 lakh FPS. FPS is fair price shops. If there is a question on food grain distribution, public distribution system, the total number of fair price shops in India are 5.43, out of which 99.6% of them are equipped with EPOS. That is basically digital connectivity has happened in all these or most of these fair price shops. In case of pulses, the government of India set up a target of becoming Atmanirbhar in case of pulse production. So India accounts for more than a third of total cultivation of pulses, by the way. How much is the exact data? 38%. India accounts for 38% of globally cultivated area and 28% of global output. Despite this, very often, this is a problem, by the way. India ends up importing pulses from rest of the world. Right? So India aims to become self-sufficient, Atmanirbhar by 2030. And in 24 and 25, India imported 6.5 million tons of pulses. Now let's move on to the next important area, oilseeds. Very recently, there has been a lot of discussion in the context of oilseeds. For the year 23 and 24, India imported 15.7 million tons or 56% of the total requirement of oilseeds that is consumed in India. So this is as per the latest documents published by the Government of India in agriculture. What about the data points that you need to remember in the industries? And I hope you understand. I'm just telling you the important data points. Are these all the data points in agriculture sector? Of course, no. Right? If I keep on giving you all the data, let's say from only economic survey, that data set itself will run into 2 or 3 pages only for agriculture. But you don't require so much amount of data for writing UPSC mains examination. This is, according to me, more than sufficient. What about the industries? Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code has completed 10 years. Be careful. The government e-marketplace has completed 10 years. Very recently, this was published in the newspaper. Please be very careful. So, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, the performance of it. As of March 2026, the creditors have been able to recover more than 4.3 lakh crore rupees under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. And when you look at how many of these particular applications filed at IBC, they have gone through the resolution, how many of them gone through the liquidation, etc. This is the data. 78% of the distressed assets, there has been a resolution, which obviously means 22% have undergone liquidation. According to Ease of Doing Business report, which was published earlier by the World Bank, India was ranked 52nd. One of the reasons that was quoted was because of Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Global value chain systems. Very often you'll have to keep on giving a recommendation that India needs to participate more and more under GVC. Is there a data point that you can write? Here is the data. In case of India, the participation of India on backward GVC is around 16.3% for the year 2022. And the GVC related trade, that is out of the total trade that is done by India, how much is part of the global value chain system? It is 40% for the year 2022. Of course, the data is for 2022 according to the latest economic survey documents. But when you compare India's GVC participation with other countries, in case of other countries, the GVC participation is much higher. For USA, it is more than 43%. For UK, it is even higher, 47%. And for Japan, it is 48%. You can remember 1 or 2 examples to quote if at all a question is asked. MSMEs, favorite area of UPSC by the way. According to the data published by the government for January 2026, right, more than 30% of GDP comes from MSMEs. More than 35% of manufacturing comes from MSMEs. 48% of exports come from MSMEs. And 39 crore employees are employed in the MSMEs. According to the Udyam portal, very often you will come across the concept of missing middle. Missing middle in the concept of or under the context of industrialization. So when you look at the MSME data, according to the Udyam portal I am quoting here, most of the enterprises under MSMEs are micro enterprises. Have a look at this. 6.18 crore MSMEs, of which 6.09 are micro enterprises. 6.09. 70,000 are medium enterprises. 7 lakh are small enterprises. That's the reason very often there's a discussion why higher number of companies are not becoming larger in India. That is competitive in the global market because most of the enterprises will end up remaining micro enterprises in India. Anyways, next one, electric vehicle, EVs. Government of India has a target of achieving 30% penetration by the year 2030. Currently, the penetration levels in case of India is around 8.2%. The global average is more than 17%. That is, in case of India, the penetration levels are almost half or below half of the global average. But when you compare it with the earlier situation in India, financial year 20, the penetration level was simply 0.7%. So the point is simple here. The penetration has increased, but compared to the global average, it is much lower in India. But more importantly, very recently for the current year, the number of registrations number of registrations of EVs have crossed more than 10 million. This was an achievement, by the way, which was published very recently in the newspaper. Now, R&D, research and development. Very often the questions have been asked on research and development. So what kind of data can you quote in the examination? In case of India, I've given you the latest data sets, by the way, because in the last couple of days, publications have come out or the reports have been published. In fact, one very important change that has happened in the context of India is until recently, everywhere that you have read regarding this particular topic, they would have mentioned private sector investment in R&D is very less. But according to the latest estimates, the private sector spending under the research and development has crossed more than 50%. Have a look at this. The private sector spending is 51.8% for the year 23 and 24. But when you compare that with other countries, of course, yes, that is much lower. China, the private sector spending is 77%, USA 75%. India's gross expenditure in research and development, it has increased over a period of time. A decade ago, it was just over 60,000 crore rupees. According to the latest estimates, it is more than 2.45 lakh crore rupees. No doubt, the absolute expenditure has increased, but as a percentage of GDP, India's GRD is 0.8 percentage of GDP. Whereas in case of USA, 3.4%, in China, 2.4%. This is important data for research and development. What about textile area? Important questions have been asked in textile. So it contributes 2% of GDP and 11% of manufacturing gross value addition. This is important data point. Please make a note of it. Now, in the context of, right, let's say India, in the global market, India is the largest cultivator of cotton by acreage. Largest cultivator. Largest producer of jute, second largest producer of silk and cotton, sixth largest exporter of textiles, which account for 4% of the global textile exports. Where can you use this data? In the context of India's trade agreement with other countries, India's competition with the neighboring countries such as Bangladesh, Vietnam, etc., in the context of textile exports. Now, some more data regarding, right, let's say the banking, NPAs, etc. Of course, in the last 5 years, questions have not been asked on banking specifically in the mains examination, but you never know. For example, there can be a question, discuss the reforms that have been implemented by the government in the last decade, which have helped the twin balance sheet problem become now a twin balance sheet advantage. Think over it. The banking sector, important data according to me, NPAs, the non-performing asset in the scheduled commercial banks. By the way, right, there are 12 public sector banks now, but in the scheduled commercial banks, the NPA, gross NPA is 2.2% right now, the lowest in decades, lowest in the decades. The net NPA is further low, 0.5%, and this is until September 2025. And the CRAR, that is basically the capital adequacy ratio for the banks, is around 17.2%. Higher the CAR, more stable is the banking sector. Now, in case of investment, what are the important data sets? External commercial borrowing reforms have been implemented by the Reserve Bank of India. Under these particular reforms, now the limit for the ECB is up to 1 billion or 300% of the net worth. Until very recently, it was fixed at around 750 million per year. It has been increased to up to 1 billion or 300% of the net worth. The net FDI, there has been a lot of discussion in the context of the net FDI, not just FDI, net FDI. India is one of the largest recipient of FDI, but there is a problem in terms of net FDI, which has become negative for a couple of months in recent times. So the net FDI has fallen from $45 billion for the financial year 21 to $0.35 billion for the financial year 25. This is a very important data point. I told you the government e-marketplace, it has completed 10 years now. 100% coverage of all the states and union territories. Right, so far, the performance-wise, it has completed 2.5 crore orders, 11 lakh crore rupees of orders have been put and purchased, that is bought and sold using the JUMP portal. And please remember, it includes both goods and services. The services account for 4.8 lakh crore out of the total 11 lakh crore. Now, infrastructure. In case of infrastructure, what are the important data points? The logistics has been one of the very important areas of discussion, by the way. In case of India, the cost of logistics traditionally, I'm pretty sure you've come across this in the newspapers, is stated to be in the range of 13 to 14%. But according to the latest data that has been published by Government of India, it has been brought down to 7.97% of GDP. Please make a note of this. And the Government of India has announced a logistics policy of 2022. It has implemented multiple reforms such as promotion of waterways, promotion of, right, let's say FASTag, promotion of GS-3. All of these, along with many other reforms, have helped reduction in the cost of transportation, in turn helping reduction in the cost of logistics in India. And according to the policy of 2022, the Government of India has a target of achieving the ranking, that is the logistics index, logistics performance index. In this, the Government of India has a target of being in the top 25th. As per the latest ranking, it is 38th. In case of power sector, as per January 2026, installed capacity is more than 520 gigawatts. Renewable energy, India ranks third globally. Of course, this data keeps on changing from month to month, but whatever is the latest data, 283 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel sources. The majority of the contribution comes from the solar 150 gigawatts, wind 56 gigawatts, and many more are part of it. Roads, India accounts for more than 66 lakh kilometers length of road network. But out of this, hardly 5% is the state highways as well as national highways. Ports, there are 13 major ports and more than 200 minor or non-major ports in India. The NMP, right, National Monetization Pipeline. Very recently, the Government of India has announced NMP 2.0. So, National Monetization Pipeline 1.0, the target was 6 lakh crore rupees, and we have been able to achieve 89% of the target. It was implemented from financial year 22 to financial year 25, and 13 sectors were covered under this. Under 2.0, NMP 2.0, the Government of India has targeted monetizing 16.7 lakh crore worth of assets, and this is going to be implemented from financial year 26 to financial year 30. There is one more portal or one more initiative of Government of India, Pradhana Mantri Gati Shakti, PM Gati Shakti. So PM Gati Shakti has been implemented, has been adopted, and 57 ministries and departments have been onboarded. 1700 data layers are present on this particular platform, and very recently we have allowed even the private sector access into the PM Gati Shakti. But please understand, because of the security issue, confidential issue, etc., government has not allowed access to every data layer under the PM Gati Shakti. It is limited to 230 curated data layers. Limited access has been provided, but nevertheless an improvement compared to earlier situation. Now, next important area, external sector. Indian rupee has depreciated by more than 6%, more than 6% since January 2026. Important data point, please make a note of this. Now, in the context of India's exports and imports, what is India's share in the global trade? India's share in the global merchandise exports is 1.8%. India's share in the global services exports is 4.3%. India is the seventh largest exporter of services. Now, in case of remittances, which is very often there in the discussion, the remittances, according to the latest data, have accounted for 144 billion in the year 25 and 26. Majority of these remittances have come to India from USA, followed by United Arab Emirates, UAE, followed by United Kingdom, followed by Singapore. These are the other top countries which have sent remittances to India. Now, what about the Forex? Forex is a very volatile data. From one month to another month, it will keep on changing. But in case of India, in recent times, the Forex has crossed more than $700 billion. And the import cover is more than 10 to 11 months. Trade agreements. India has signed and implemented 15 free trade agreements, which covers more than 27 countries. These account, that is the trade agreements account for 75% of the total exports and 65% of the imports into India. Apart from the FTA, India has also signed preferential trade agreements, that is a PTAs, and that is limited to only 6 trading partners. The countries with whom we have signed the trade agreement very recently are New Zealand, Oman, right, United Kingdom, etc. Now, other important areas, employment. Questions whenever they're asked on employment, use the data points. For example, if you want to talk about, let's say, how many people are there in the working age group in India. Remember this particular data, more than 62% in India belong to working age group, that is 15 to 59 years. According to the India Skills Report 2026, 56% of the population in India is employable, that is working age population is employable. 120 lakh workers work in the gig economy in India, which account for 2% of the total workforce. According to International Labour Organization, Indian workers are ranked 7th globally in terms of number of working hours per week. In case of India, the number of working hours are 47.7 hours. Now, in terms of productivity, if there is a debate, the debate on increasing number of working hours versus productivity, the productivity of Indian workers is right $8.7 per hour. Globally, it is $19 per hour. PLFS data says unemployment rate amongst the youth is 16.2% according to June 2026 report. Only 24% of India's working age population has a salaried job. That basically means a lot of Indian workers are working in informal market. That's true, by the way. 503 million people are in the age group of 15 to 34 years. 15 to 34 years. Finally, associated with certain inclusive growth, social indicators. According to Household Consumption Expenditure Survey 23-24, the the indicators, right? The Gini coefficient for rural is 0.23 and for urban it is 0.28. In fact, when you compare it with earlier numbers, the Gini coefficient in fact has improved. Okay. The financial inclusion, 89% of adults in India have banking accounts. According to World Bank's international poverty line, they have changed the poverty line right to $3 per day per person as per 2021 prices. And if you're writing on an answer on poverty, you will have to quote the data. According to the Multidimensional Poverty Index Progress Review 2023, 135 million people have escaped poverty in this particular time period. Social service expenditure, SSEs, comprising healthcare, education, etc. The general government expenditure has been rising since financial year 2022, and from the financial year 22 to 26, the social service expenditure has grown at a compounded annual growth rate of 12%. Now, apart from this, National Family Health Survey, the sixth round, a lot of you will have data of NFHS 5, that is for 2019 to 2021, but use the updated data for 23 and 24, which was published very recently, May 2026. According to this, 90% of the births in India are taking place in healthcare facilities, institutional deliveries. That is an improvement, by the way, because earlier it was 88%. The stunting for the people or for the children below the age of 5 years is 29.3, but earlier it was 35%. Severe wasting, earlier it was right a 5, now it is a 7. Childhood immunization, right, it has peaked to, or it has hit 87, earlier it was 83. And total fertility rate, right, basically now is 2, which is below the replacement rate of 2.1. So these are the various data points which according to me are relevant for you. Please have a look at these particular data points. Download the PDF. The link for this is provided in the description box below. But more importantly, take a printout. Go through these particular data sets at least once a day. It will hardly take 5 to 10 minutes every day for the next 19 days till the 23rd August. So go through these particular data points once every day, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. You will be able to recollect important data points in the examination hall, but more importantly, incorporate these particular data points to improve the quality of the answer, add value to your answer, which will help you fetching more number of marks compared to your competitors. All the best to all of you. Prepare well, don't get tensed. You will be able to score good number of marks. Right? Thank you. Have a great day. If you have liked this particular session, hit the like button. If you're yet to join the Unacademy IAS YouTube channel, kindly do it right now.